L'ère post-Covid, le nouveau visage de l'hospitalité. Nous sommes heureux d'accueillir Maud Bailly, CEO Europe du Sud, Accor.
Please welcome Maud Bailly, CEO Southern Europe at Accor. Good afternoon. Thank you very much, Vangelis, for giving me the floor. I'm delighted to see you, and I'm delighted to see more of you than there were last year. There were only 10 of us in the room last year, and so it's a real treat to see you all. I'd like to say a few words that have nothing to do with the topic I've been asked to address. I'd like to say a few words about someone who really mattered to the Accor group. Didier Gros is his name. Didier Gros did part of this life last Sunday. I was not lucky enough to know him personally, but having heard of him over and over, he was a model for me in three respects. He was a model because of his career path. The hospitality industry is an extraordinary industry with a diversity of tasks, jobs. It's a way to rise through the ranks, and the depth of culture is extraordinary. Didier started out as a cook's aide, and he rose to be managing director for France. Number one. Number two, Didier's values. He was generous, humble, hardworking, and passionate about training and retaining his teams and helping them progress. He was very creative for the Ibis family. He renovated, he helped completely revisit the economy segment. So please join me in having a fanta for Didier. And she's just listed the names of his children. We send them our warmest regards and our support in this difficult time. I'm going to take you on a deep dive into our experience at Accor. How the summer went for us. It was busier, the way this room is busier, and then a few lessons learned during the crisis. Accor, 5,200 hotels, and over 760,000 rooms worldwide with 8 regional hubs, North America, South America, a huge Africa, Middle East, India zone, the Pacific, Southeast Asia, China, Greater China, Southern Europe, and Northern Europe. I'm fortunate in being the manager for Southern Europe, which is the nicest, the finest hub. And I'm quite objective in saying that. I stand on figures to support this: France, Italy, Portugal, Spain, Greece, Malta, and Israel. A quarter of the group's P&L, 435 partners, some of whom are here this afternoon. Hello, partners. And we weathered this storm together, hand in hand. We lobbied, we defended the interests of our industry, and we continued to open new assets. And we have 18 brands from the economy to the ultra-luxury segment, 35,000 employees in our hotels, owned by different parties. Now, what's the subject at hand this afternoon? Just a word about the business situation today and what we can expect for the end of the year and the early part of next year. And then the lessons learned and trends that I believe I can identify. These are things we think we've been able to identify through what our clients have said. And this will shape our Accor strategy for Southern Europe. Okay, this summer. How did the summer go? We did well, but it was a mixed bag. We did very well, actually, because anything green, the French provinces, the coastline, the mountains, the leisure mix outperformed 2019 reservations and also the average spend. I'll have more to say about that in a moment. No, there's a color problem here, sorry. Malaga, Faro. No, that's correct. I don't know why it's all in gray. This is counterintuitive. Gray is what did the best. This dull gray is these were our flagship performing locations. I know you're tired. You don't want to look at these gray rectangles, but these are the best performers. The gray did they did a smashing business. Wow. Okay, the gray is wow. 75 to 100% occupancy. Green 50 to 74, and average was under 50% occupancy. So again, seacoasts, mountains, and the French provinces outperformed previous levels. Now, cities were a mixed bag because they depend on MICE, they depend on corporate clients, junkets, conventions, and so on. In September, there was a mix which is more than just domestic clientele, but there's a bit of a glimmer of activity of a pickup in the MICE sector, the MICE sector. Okay, so what happened this summer? Well, historic high bookings. France, Italy, Greece, Israel, a little bit less in the in Spain and Portugal. This was a domestic clientele, leisure clientele. 9 out of every 10 French people spent their vacations in France this past summer. The remaining 10% all went to Greece, apparently, which suits me fine because that's my hub. So I was all for that. That was the right choice as far as I was concerned. Anyway, people stayed in France. French people stayed in France. The average spend was a lot higher than average, well, in 2019, en masse. Cannes, Dinard, Ajaccio and Corsica. Average spend was just a lot higher than usual. It was revenge buying. That was the revenge buying effect. They made up for lost time. People were not traveling as far, so they were spending the same total budget, but as the transportation spend was less, they had more to spend when they got to where they were going. There were fewer Germans and fewer people from the UK, but the Swiss, Belgians, and the Dutch flocked to our hotels. This trend was at work until the 19th of July. This summer was rescued by the domestic clients, and then non-European customers. There were people from Qatar in small volumes, but then the Middle East, Russia, the Brazilians, the American tourists from the USA traveled in a stop-and-go fashion. What about business travel? The MICE is very flat here. That was the first half of the year. And a rebound here. These are figures that are compared with 2019. So a pickup in July. And we're hoping to come out of this little slump here. We're hoping that groups and individual business travelers will resume traveling. One thing that has changed is that trade shows are not being canceled the way they were last year. Fashion Week is going to be maintained. All of these events up on the screen will be held. They will not be canceled. However, what is the long-term impact of hybrid meetings and events? What's the long-term impact of those hybrid meetings and events going to be on revenues? Because the number of participants in these trade shows has been halved. So this will have an impact on our hotels, beyond a doubt. The third week, in Southern Italy, 80% of the reservation rate of 2019. Recently, it's not an Indian summer effect for the leisure segment. It is a resumption of business travel, but we'll have to wait until 2022 to see what new business travel looks like. There will be hybridization. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind. I think the impact can be 10 to 20% of an impact. 10 to 20% of business travel will remain digital, thanks to the platforms that we all rely on today. Now, what is the path to recovery for our industry? 2021, once again, marked by stay-at-homes. I mean, stay in your country vacationers. 2022, we're hoping it will be a year in which people start to tour Europe. The UK will be traveling once again. Northern Europeans will be traveling once again. We're really counting on a recovery there because that will buoy our growth. And then through 2024, we think it will take that long to see a full resumption of the levels of non-European travel volumes coming into Europe. Volumes of non-European travelers coming into Europe. We're going to make every effort to bring this about before 2024. The MICE are coming back. They're trickling back, but the seminar participants are coming from nearer by. They're not traveling as far. And again, these conferences are being organized in hybrid format. So who have been the first people to come back? The leisure segment in the French provinces, which did a brisk business. I mean, they hit all-time highs. Paris or Madrid, Lisbon, and continued to suffer throughout the period. The economy and mid-scale segments weathered the storm better. Premium survived, doing very well with M Gallery. The luxury segment suffered. There were small MICEs and individual business travelers traveled. Young people are hitting the road again earlier than older people. And there was, again, the revenge buying that I mentioned earlier, which really made a huge difference, had a huge impact on us. So that's what I wanted to tell you about the situation at Accor, Southern Europe. Now, what lessons have we learned? You have to remember what has happened to you in a crisis. You've got to avoid the temptation to wipe the slate clean and forget all about your sufferings, because there are definitely lessons to be learned. I've identified 8 trends. I'm going to list them for you quickly. The first trend, had I been asked 2 years ago what customers wanted from us, I would have been bowled over to hear that health reassurance was what people wanted. There will be other pandemics. We can expect that. And accessibility standards are going to be very stringent, as will environmental protection requirements. So we have a seal of quality that's certified by the Bureau Veritas for France and another agency for the rest of Southern Europe. And we have a label that reassures our B2C clients, our staff, and clients planning to organize conventions in our hotels. We have about 500 calls for tender to reply to, and we always ask for this certificate of health rule compliance. And then there's been a hybridization of the world. Digitization was almost a complete process. COVID just accelerated it. COVID allowed several countries to gain several points of digital maturity a lot faster than expected. Organizations switched to teleworking very quickly using the platforms that you all familiar with. And teleworking has changed people's relationship to work and negotiations with industrial partners in almost every industry. It's become an ordinary, normal thing to work from home several days a week. And this begs the question of what the future of office space is going to be.
And so we've driven digital solutions, whether these are digital keys from people's cell phones. People receive their keys on their phone. All that is check-in, check-out, QR codes for room service. Sorry, you can't really read it here that well. It should have been dark green, but it's gray. Remember the map? Related to the map. And do we want to have so much paper in our hotels? We've put everything online. So post-crisis, what will we keep digitally? And here we've launched, in partnership with Microsoft, a hybrid meeting solution. Instead of welcoming 200 people from a same group, you see the different names we have welcome, Vinci, Midas. We will welcome 80 people physically in the hotel, and they will use a solution that we have set up with Microsoft, which is called All Collect, which is a high-level piece of equipment, and all the people in the hotel can hold a seminar, a conference, while being connected with different points of the organization in the world. With All Connect, we have very positive feedback. This is something that is requested by our large accounts, and this will be the confirmation of the hybridization of MICE and corporate in business travel. The third point, flexibility and nomadism. We don't have the same relation with work. I was a bit skeptical about working from home myself. I wasn't very modern. I didn't want my teams to work remotely, but the organizations adapted themselves quickly. They shifted quickly into working from home. And if you want to recruit new talents, young people, they want to work several days at home per week. So we have adapted solutions in our hotels together with the owner, with various ranges of offer, with this new nomadism. There's hotel office that existed before the COVID. You lend a room for use for a day or two so that a person can work from a hotel room, and all the Wojo spots, which is co-working. And now corporations are giving up their offices, and now you have workspitality. We're in a situation where companies give up their offices. They won't be used that much because people will be working from home, and there are some hotels that rent for 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, full stories of rooms. And so you can have offices, Wi-Fi, printers, the proper connections, restaurants, and the hotel becomes a place from where you can work. And that is a sustainable evolution in terms of nomadism. And it's a change in our relationship with the place where we're working. It's not like just working from your office or working from home. It's working from another place. And to attract the future talents, this is something that will be closely looked at by the younger generations. Fourth element, personalization and experience. We've changed our loyalty program at the end of 2019. It was launched in 2020. It's called All Accord Limitless. Here we relate with the emotions and passions of our clients. And now we're going further because we're convinced that clients want experience, something authentic, something that's not just a transaction, something that speaks to them when they stay in a hotel. And here you have Giselle and Fernando. They are all clients. They live in Brazil. They were dreaming to meet Amir. So we organized an all experience at the Pullman Hotel at the Eiffel Tower with a music festival. We also organized an experience for our members of the loyalty program with the wonderful Mercure Hotel, a luxury spa, and a visit of the Aix-les-Bains theater, a walk around the lake, something around welfare and gastronomy, and worked very well. And sports, Messi has joined the PSG, and for those who love sports, we've organized in Monte Carlo a participation in the e-Formula of Monaco. And all this experience, attention, customization, why do we choose a brand instead of another? All that seemed very important to us. In this context, health is going to play a very important role. We talk about restaurants, lifestyle, hotel as a place to live in. But when you've gone through a health crisis as violent as the one we've just been through, customers expect a lot of well-being in the large sense. That is nutrition, energy, sports. It's not just a medical approach with the traditional spas, something more exhaustive, more holistic. And you can see that well-being tourism, well-being in hotels, this is exploding. You have people who love stays of 4 or 5 days with proper diets, well-being, giving them more energy. And this is a growing trend among our clients. And the other strong expectation is the meaning. Why should I take a plane to go to New York or Jakarta, or if I can do it through Zoom or Teams? Not very good for the finances of the group, and in terms of carbon footprint, it's not too good either. The reason why you travel, the raison d'être of all that is going to grow, and the raison d'être of our hotel groups, this is going to become an increased demand. So we have 3 major pillars which are very dear to us: environmental responsibility, societal, all that is related to solidarity, and I have a personal engagement on diversity. A diverse team is a rich team, a buoyant team. And so we have an engagement in terms of environment protection, diversity, and solidarity. As for the environment, the financial reporting of companies will not just be financial. There'll be a whole section on the environmental responsibility, the environmental footprint. So we have strong engagements in terms of plastic and carbon. It's not an easy road. This is something we'll do with our owners, but this is a real engagement of the group. In terms of diversity, we have strong engagements. 40% of women at the ExCom of the Accor group, and 40% women within the ExComs of our regional hubs like mine, and 40% hotel managers. We had 25% women a few years ago. Now we are 35%. And the diversity of gender, of ages, and multicultural backgrounds, I think that is our greatest wealth. And you might have seen this thanks to our owners. The Accor Group has 1 million overnight stays for students, homeless people, women, victims of violence, nurses and doctors during the first lockdown. And I think that we will have to think about the raison d'être, the engagement, the values of hotels. And we're really going to drive on all that. Well, I first have to talk about this. Just to tell you that we've launched last year a brand called Greet, which is a brand that promotes responsible hotel. We are seen as predators, but we can reconcile hotels with the sustainable and responsible tourism. So Greet is to give a second chance to the premises, to the material. We furnish our hotels with furniture that has already been used, that was found in antique shops, and we have short-circuit restaurants close to the location of Greet. We have 10 hotels open in Beaune, Marseille, Lyon, and we'll have 5 more by 2021. And we really believe that hotels can be compatible with environmental friendly. Last 2 points that really concern us, and the first are the hiring issues in the field of hotels and restaurants. We're looking at the major post-COVID trends. Well, the COVID hasn't left us yet, but we'll have to learn to live with this environment. Today, my major challenge, and this is what I'm working upon with the group owners, is to improve our sector, to strengthen the attractiveness of our sector, make sure that people know about our sector in its various dimensions, possibility of a good career development, wealth of our sector. We had 60,000 vacancies before the crisis. The 4 professional organizations of the HCR sector talk about 110,000 and now 150,000 vacancies. There is a crisis, difficulty to hire as chefs, commis, waiters, chefs de rang, housekeepers, and we have to work hand in hand. We have to think about a better knowledge of the hotel sector, the wealth, the career development in these jobs, the fact that these jobs are painstaking. It's a question of rhythm of life, need to have breaks, etc. And a lot of volunteers want to think about this together. The government has granted tax-free digital tip, and there is initial training with the public authorities so that we can have a greater awareness on the sector and so that all the hotels, because this is an issue that goes beyond the Accor group, and this way we can find motivated talents who understand the wealth of this industry. And the last point, and this will be my conclusion, maybe this is not so much expected, but I told you about the business, the client mix, domestic, leisure, co-responsibility. We don't really talk about this, but this is the role of the leaders and the managers. What we've observed in this digital era of Zoom and Teams, individual productivity has improved, less commuting time, more productivity. This is why we have generalized working from home. It's a good solution for everyone. But if you look at the collective productivity, companies are communities of men and women that meet around a raison d'être, a common vision. And in this era, digital era, with 2 or 3 days in strategic areas, steering areas, to have a lot of employees working from home, it's an additional challenge, especially during these moments of crisis. During a moment of crisis, you have to go faster, you have to empower and make mistakes. So this means that the management has to empower, has to trust, they have to be more horizontal, and there shouldn't be too many silos because that takes more time to make a decision. That means we need better individual and collective productivity. Those are not the same things for me. And in terms of meaning, in spite of the storm, we have to stay in touch with the employees wherever they are. Stay in touch with the owners, stay in touch with the hotel managers, and all this online. And to manage online, this requires another type of energy. And we will have to train new generations of managers, and they will have to learn to manage a whole complexity and a growing volatility. The COVID crisis might be behind us, but we'll have to manage other crises with an environment that will be increasingly complex. What requires an additional energy, and I think that to give food to thought, we have to find employees in two energy sources. All that belongs to the culture of the company, the pride to belong to a company. And we, as a hotel group, we have to structure the raison d'être, the reasons why people choose us, whether it's the clients, the owners, or the employees. And the group's DNA is rooted in solidarity. We have to give back. And this is what allows us to hold through the storm. So in such moments of crisis and uncertainty, of volatility that will last, it is important to think about the role of the leaders and the managers, which is not simple for tomorrow's hotel management, which is still a wonderful sector. Thank you.